Great, and good afternoon, everyone. Really excited to be here. Today we're going to talk for about 40 minutes on digital user engagement. Before we jump into it, just a quick round of introductions. My name is Zach Barbitta. I'm a senior product manager on the Pinpoint service. We're going to talk in detail today about the Pinpoint service. I'm based out of Seattle, and my role is focused on growth and enablement. So how can I educate and bring awareness to some of the properties that AWS has as it relates to digital engagement. I'm joined by my colleague John. John, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is John Burry. I am a principal specialist solutions architect, and I'm focused in this domain of digital user engagement. I partner with Zach and the team. I'm going to say goodbye for now. I'll be back up in a little bit to give a demo, so thank you.
Great, thanks John. So let's just jump into it. Today's agenda looks to be broken out into these 4 pieces here. So first, we're going to level set with everyone in the audience on digital engagement. Why is it important? So we have some data that we'd like to share with the audience and really build a foundational knowledge of why we're here talking about this. Second, we're going to talk about an overview of the AWS services that can help. And we're going to spend about 10 minutes here because it's really important for us to let you know what is out there, what's capable. I think one of the most exciting things about AWS is the pace of innovation. And with that pace of innovation means that we need to do a good job, a better job each day of educating you on what is out there for you to build on. The third, and what I'm most excited about, is we'll do a flash case study. And I think flash case studies are really interesting because in 10 minutes, we're going to cover Disney's digital transformation over 2018 and how they leveraged AWS to do some really innovative things. Fourth, we'll go into a demo with John and the Personalize and Pinpoint service. So Personalize is the AI, ML, recommendation, personalization engine, and Pinpoint is the Anchor digital user engagement service. So we're going to do a demo for you. And demos are always fun because if they work, they're exciting. And if they don't work, you'll definitely remember it breaking on stage. So we'll head into that. Last but not least, we'll try to do Q&A. And if you need to find John and I afterwards, we'll be here to answer any questions. What I want everyone to get out of today's session, so there's a few things I want you to be able to walk out and say, okay, I learned these items. So first is, how can AWS accelerate your digital transformation? The second is real-world customer applications. So how exactly are some of the biggest brands doing it today? And third, looks like we lost the screen. John, could you come on up real quick and help me get back in? Great, thank you. Second, the real-world customer application. And then a third, the clear path to getting started. So I've been in a session before, and sometimes I leave sessions and I'm really excited. I'm like, wow, that was great, but how do I get started? So we're going to have one slide with a clear call to action on how to take what you learned today to the next level. So first, section 1, why is it important? Why are we all here today talking about digital engagement? So I think the first slide here is data that really talks about the amount of endpoints that are coming online and what that means for your customers, users. So by 2025, there's going to be 75 billion different connected devices. So what does that mean? Like, why do we care about that? And I think it's quite obvious because all of us, everyone in this room is a consumer of digital marketing, digital engagement. We receive notifications every single day. And every single day, we expect these notifications, these advertisements, these call to actions to be better and better. Further, we want these notifications to be where we are, right? If we communicate with our friends on WhatsApp or WeChat or Twitter or Facebook, we expect brands to be there. And so AWS and Amazon Pinpoint, the service I represent, enables you to do that. So we'll just talk briefly about 3 different mediums and how you can really enable some innovative things. So a few months ago, we published a solution that's available on GitHub for you all to use about how you can engage over Twitter using Pinpoint and Comprehend. Comprehend is AWS's natural language processing service. So basically what we enabled brands to do is at scale, efficiently, and affordably understand the conversations that your customers are having with your brand on Twitter. What's the sentiment? What's the keywords? What are they talking about? And then programmatically using AWS and Pinpoint to send a notification to then get more data about what your customers really want. Next is the smart speakers, Alexa. So many folks, millions of people around the globe have a smart speaker. So what does that mean for digital engagement? You know, when you walk home every day, do you really want another notification? And from what customers have told us is no, they don't, right? They're very sensitive to notifications in their home. However, what if that notification was something highly relevant, extremely important, like a potential intruder in the house, or a package that is waiting for you at your front door, or some other pertinent information that's really important? So when we talk about notifications and digital engagement, it's not just about marketing. It's about how to connect these different experiences on different properties so that your consumers have a more close-knit relationship with your brand. Last but not least, Facebook, right? I think we know the billions of people that are on this platform. So how can you use the billions of people that are there, your brand, and again, connect the conversation? So that's all items that we're going to talk about today, and that's why this topic is so important. And I think, honestly, you know, one of the most interesting things we're doing at AWS. Now, I'm slightly biased, but it's extremely exciting to see what some of the largest brands are building on AWS to create these powerful experiences. Just another data point that I always like to share. Again, this is common sense. This is saying that every person here, or excuse me, 84% of people in this room, they want to be treated like a person, not a number. And then that says that 51% of marketers, product teams, they don't have the capabilities to do that. So think about the opportunity. We have people, us, saying we want to be treated not as a unique identifier, but as an individual that has unique characteristics that wants certain notifications tailored for them. And 51% of us in the room say that we don't have the tools to do that. And so that's what we're talking about today, and that's what we're building. We're building those tools so that you can enable your engineering, your ops, your product, your growth, your marketing teams to move faster. And so what are users' expectations? I broke it down to really 3 major buckets, and I think it should resonate with everyone in the audience. So mass messaging to personalization. So we have good data now that shows that personalization increases engagement, right? That we all know. But there's also some relevant data out there that says too much personalization can risk the customer trust. So we'll talk a little bit about that, because you can take the data you have on your users and you can use it in a way that crosses that invisible line of being too personalized, too creepy, too aware. And so I think as representatives of our companies and our brands, we have to be mindful about that customer trust. I think one of the famous quotes from Jeff is that customer trust is extremely hard to earn, but you can lose it in a second. And so that's one of the points that I always like to make in this presentation is all this data, all the analytics we're collecting on users, extremely valuable, but how do you do it in a mindful way? The second, siloed experiences with connected experiences. So what do I mean by that? So what we're trying to enable and what we're building, it allows you to have connected experiences across your digital properties. So what do I mean? What I mean by that is as a user interacts with your brand on your mobile app, on your website, in your store, at your arena, wherever they might engage with your brand, that experience should be connected. When they call a call center, that call center representative should understand that profile of that customer. And the same as the marketer. When the marketer is sending an engagement notification or newsletter, they should understand that they've just talked to your contact center. So it's about building these connected experiences that, again, get us closer to creating a cohesive digital engagement. And the third, it really talks about forms to natural. So what do I mean by that? So Pinpoint, AWS, has a variety of analytics tools that help you understand what your users want. So today we're going to talk about Amazon Pinpoint and the analytics capabilities that it has. But what we mean by natural is as your customers are taking different actions on your different properties or offline at different events or venues, those are all data that can help inform you on making better decisions. And these are the expectations that your users every single day expect more out of you. Great, so that's why it's important. So now the next section is how can we help? Like, that's great. We all understand it's really important things, but where does AWS come into this picture? So this next slide talks about Amazon Pinpoint. That's the service that I represent, and some of the work we're doing to build one stack for your digital engagement. And so what I mean about one stack, well, As you can see below, there's fantastic AWS services that do amazing things. And what we're doing at Amazon Pinpoint is we're abstracting away a lot of the capabilities for their services so that it's easier for you. And what do I mean by that? Well, I think a lot about the non-technical teams in your organization. And when I say non-technical teams, I'm talking about your product managers, your marketing teams, your growth teams. They want to leverage the power of AWS, but they don't necessarily want to write SQL queries to their Redshift cluster, right? They want tools that work quickly, that have an impact. And that's what Amazon Pinpoint, that's what one of our charters is to make tools extremely simple. We want to bring the cloud into your organizations for other workloads, particularly digital user engagement. So let me just give you a couple examples of what do I mean by building a single digital engagement stack. So Amazon DynamoDB. So I'm sure most folks in the room know about DynamoDB. How does it have a relationship with Pinpoint? Well, Pinpoint has the capability for a lightweight CDP. A CDP is a customer data platform. And what I mean by that is we help you build user profiles. We're going to get into that in the next couple slides, and I'm going to tell you how Disney streaming service did that with us. But as building a CDP, this customer data platform, we're built on top of DynamoDB. And so that means that we've abstracted away your need or concerns about how we're managing your customer data, because we're doing it for you. Another good example would be Kinesis. So again, many folks are probably familiar with Kinesis. This allows you to stream data near real time to almost any destination. So what Pinpoint does is as your users are taking actions in your web and mobile properties, we're streaming that events right into Pinpoint to surface to you immediately in real time, which is extremely powerful. And then we have a native integration with Kinesis so you can stream it to another destination, S3 for storage, Redshift for further analysis. So there's really two components of the analytics for Amazon Pinpoint. One, it's surfacing the data in real time so your teams can take action. And the second is streaming it out so you can store it or use it for other use cases. Next, third is talking about Amazon AWS Lambda, an extremely power serverless service. Its relationship to Pinpoint is, as you saw in the earlier slide, we enable you to get messages to different channels: Facebook, WhatsApp, WeChat, Line, push notifications. We enable all of that. And some of the power or some of the reasons that we can do that easily is by our integration with Lambda. So again, this is just highlighting the different examples of how Pinpoint is sitting on top of different AWS services to accelerate your team's ability. Because at the end of the day, what I think a lot about is how can I help some of the biggest brands in the world move quicker with their digital engagement, to test different types of notifications, different call to actions, different personalizations. Because the quicker I can enable you to do that, ultimately the quicker you can get to matching your users' expectations. Last but not least, and I'll go over this briefly because John's going to do a demo, but Amazon Personalized is an extremely powerful AI ML-based recommendation and personalization engine, right? It was discussed in Andy's keynote at reInvent, and it has a full team working on delivering some amazing capabilities. However, what happens when you have those capabilities and you marry them with your engagement tool, when you marry them with Amazon Pinpoint? And that's where I think we can start doing some really innovative things around notifications that are tailored for each and every individual. So what if your email, your push, your SMS interpreted and understood the exact a message or notification or time or channel that a user wants to receive? This is what we're getting closer to, and this is what we aspire to enable you to do. So to talk a little bit more about Amazon Pinpoint, because it's a relatively new service, it has really 5 pillars to the service. I'll start from the left and go to the right. So user management. So when I talk about user management, it's about building that lightweight customer data platform. And so what do I mean by that exactly? I sometimes say that and people say, okay, what are you talking about? Help me out here. And the easiest way to think about this is your teams, as I imagine, your teams have different vendors, different point solution providers, different databases in different locations. So how can we have one location where all that data exists in a user profile manner, right? So I'll give you a real world example. So I'm a user in the Pinpoint world, right? Pinpoint recognizes me with a unique user ID. However, I have a variety of endpoints. I have a mobile device, I have an email address, I have a phone number. Of course, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and WeChat. Those are all endpoints. In Pinpoint Pinpoint manages that profile in all of my different endpoints and all of the different attributes on those endpoints. So I'll give you another, take this example one step further. If my favorite food is pizza, then on my user profile, there will be an attribute that says favorite food pizza. But I can also have attributes on my endpoints. So I mentioned that an endpoint would be an email address, a mobile phone, a Facebook Messenger. So your endpoints can have specific attributes as well. And so what this enables you to do is have a holistic 360-degree view of your users and the different devices that they interact on with your brands. And that feeds right into number 2, the audience management. So Pinpoint has native tools to enable you to manage your audience, your users. So in the next couple slides, we're going to talk about Disney and the millions of users they have. So this is really important because those millions of users, what they're doing is they're taking actions and they're changing different attributes in real time. And when you're doing that at scale, you have to have a service, and Amazon Pinpoint manages this for you, that manages your audience so that you always know at any moment what the most relevant information about your customers, your users. Third is the targeting tools. So you can only engage with the audience as good as you can define them. And what I mean by that is Pinpoint, and we'll show you at the demo, Pinpoint has tools where with just a couple clicks, you can define the attribute values that you want for targeting. So if you recall, I said my favorite food is pizza. So in the Pinpoint console, if you were a pizza company and you said, I want to target just folks that live in New York, purchase pizza once a week, and their favorite food is pizza, without writing any code, you can do that. And what Pinpoint's doing on the back end is essentially writing a query to pull it from your user population. The fourth, I won't talk too much about channels, but that's just about getting this notification to your user where they are. And what's really exciting, I think, about channels is they're continuing to evolve. And what I mean by that is, every 6 months or so, there's a new app that has 10 million users that are on it each day. How do you ensure that you future-proof your digital engagement by being able to get notifications there? And the second, I think there's some really interesting channels that are evolving. When we think about AR, VR, that is a channel. Like that is a mode, a medium in which you can engage with your users. And while today it's not extremely prevalent in digital engagement, it will become. So how can we think about today some of the use cases that are going to be required in 2025 when those 75 billion endpoints are online? And then fifth, last but not least, is the analytics. So Pinpoint has native integration with the AWS SDKs so we can capture all the analytics. And if you recall earlier, I mentioned we do 2 things with those. One, we surface those analytics in the console so you can understand your user population at a glance. And 2, we enable you to stream those analytics to your data lake or to any destination you'd like for use later on. So it has a really robust analytics tool because your teams, your marketers need that real-time data, and your data teams want to store and archive and manage that. Just to talk about some of the more macro features of Pinpoint that enable highly personalized notifications. So Pinpoint has a concept of event triggers. Event triggers allows you to send a notification to a user based on an action they take. A simple example is if your user requests a one-time password, they expect that notification to get there immediately because they want to log in. Pinpoint supports that event trigger natively. And what I mean when I say natively, it means that you don't have to worry about, your engineering teams don't have to worry about building a trigger mechanism, right? That's done for you and built right into the console. Another larger feature is voice. So voice is a really powerful engagement channel. A lot of people think of voice as sort of an afterthought because there's all these other digital channels. But voice is extremely important for transactional workloads. And what do I mean by transactional workload? Let's say you have a customer who's scheduled a meeting with a mortgage lender or a financial advisor. You might have a use case where you send them an SMS confirming the meeting. And if they don't respond, you send them another SMS. And if they still don't respond, then you call them. So the ability to have one managed service, Pinpoint, that enables you to do voice as well, we're seeing is increasingly powerful for larger brands. Third is a larger feature we talked about is deliverability dashboard. So anyone who works with email products will immediately understand the value in this. This provides at the surface all the analytics about your email campaigns. So how's your dedicated IP reputation? What's your bounce rate? What's your open rate, your click, your unsubscribe? Again, we're trying to bring the analytics to the fingertips of the users, of the people that are actually creating these engagement scenarios. Last but not least, it's built for everyone. And what do I mean by that is traditionally, AWS has served the developer audience and served them very well. And Amazon Pinpoint does that as well with our REST APIs and SDKs. But we're also thinking a lot about the marketer, the non-technical team that I mentioned earlier. So Amazon Pinpoint has a web-based console that enables your team in 3 clicks to get up and running. And what I've found in talking to a lot of customers is there's a little apprehension from non-technical users of AWS, right? AWS for non-technical users can be intimidating. But when they get into the console and they see the rich dashboards, they see the couple clicks to get started, it really resonates with them and they get excited about being able to use AWS. So here's just a few screen grabs of the different features, highlighting some of the charts and KPIs that users receive. So next we're going to jump right into Disney streaming service. So for those of you who aren't aware, Disney streaming service is a company owned by Disney. Disney streaming service powers the digital platforms for Disney. So think about this as the technical arm that's building some of the really forward-thinking user engagement scenarios. So I had the privilege of working with that team for the majority of 28, and it was really exciting to see, 1, what they wanted to build, and 2, for them to actually build it on Pinpoint. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes walking through this, because I think it's really exciting. So first, what are we solving for? So Disney came to us and said, we need to send billions of notifications to millions of users. And they wanted and needed and required the scale, security, and reliability of AWS. So it was exciting for them to come to us and said, we've got a large number of volume of notifications, can you help? But then they also said, and this is as no surprise, these notifications, these billions of notifications, needed to be highly personalized. They were building an app, they were supporting the notifications for the Major League Baseball application. And so the use case they wanted to enable is enabling someone on a phone to see every event that happened in a Major League Baseball game. So what that meant is these notifications had to be highly tailored, because no one wants to see every notification for every game. They want to see the notifications that are extremely relevant to them. The third thing that we talked a lot about is speed. And when I say speed, what I mean is literally, let's get these out fast. All of us, operate in real-time environments. And Major League Baseball and Disney streaming service were no different. And so speed matters. How can we send millions of notifications across the world affordably, efficiently, and securely? And so speed was a huge component of the items that we worked on. And I think this fourth thing is a little bit of a softer requirement, but it's about collaboration. And what I mean by that is the Disney streaming team, they were enabling their product and marketing teams. So they were working very closely with the editorial, the marketing, the growth teams at the Major League Baseball to enable this scenario. And so this was really one of the, I think, most exciting use cases of non-technical users, technical teams building something really unique on Pinpoint. So this is just a rough diagram of sort of how it all worked. I talked about this just a second ago. So on the left-hand side, those are the 2 major sports leagues that Disney streaming service managed their notification workloads. In the middle, that's AWS. That's Amazon Pinpoint. We were powering and building with them this capability. And then on the right-hand side is the mobile app. And the mobile app is actually called the @BAT mobile application. So after this session, I encourage you to download the @BAT mobile application, because if nothing else, you'll see this case study in the real world. You'll be able to see the customization, the delivery, and the experience that we built. So what exactly were they trying to do? So first, they want to target the right customers. And that goes back to building a profile. So that's the first component of Amazon Pinpoint, is enabling the marketer to understand who to send those notifications to. So we did very simple things, like asking the customer when they downloaded the app, what's your favorite team? Again, extremely simple, but when a customer tells you something that valuable, my favorite team, we simply attach it to the profile. And then we have awareness of it, and we can use it in the segmentation tools. But then we extrapolated that out, and we added hundreds of different attributes. And why? Because we wanted to create the notifications that were extremely powerful, extremely personalized. And again, I think the key takeaway here is you don't want to manage this customer data platform. You don't want to have to organize, construct, and keep up to date. That's our job, and that's what we're here to do for you. Just going quickly through this, given the time, but one of the, I think the neatest things is built for real time. And what I mean by that is, as we were working with them, we realized that managing segments was a futile effort because there's thousands and thousands of segments we were creating a day. So what we decided to do was create segments in milliseconds. So as soon as an event happened, let's say a home run, we would create a segment and send out a notification. And after the event was done, we would clean up the Pinpoint console and delete stale and old segments and campaigns. Again, it's extremely powerful because the ability to create highly complex segments in milliseconds and act on them is difficult to do. And it enabled us to have a lot of flexibility, and it enabled Disney streaming service to meet the business objectives. This is just a shot of the kind of command and control center. For those of you that aren't familiar with Major League Baseball, there's 32 teams, 162 games, there's 8 runs a game. So we're talking thousands and thousands of events, thousands of campaigns, and billions of notifications. And then, of course, as any good engagement team has, they built an analytics component to really give them the control and the data they needed to know what impact did I have. And the key takeaway here is the feedback that we received from these notifications, from the events that we captured in the mobile and web clients, that made and fed into creating more powerful and relevant engagement experiences. So I think the results, happy customers. And what I mean by that is when you download the application, you'll see the customization and personalization that goes into every notification. And it's exciting to see that in the real world. And their customers really appreciated it. Second, cost-effective. We don't talk too much about this, but the ability to do this in a very cost-effective manner is important. You know, for your leadership team, we'll ask that question at some point. So I always kind of call it out as this is a highly scalable, utility-based pricing model. They moved a component of their MarTech stack to the cloud. Again, this was exciting for them because they were able to consolidate on-prem and third-party vendors and move more to AWS, which was a charter for them. And then they're able to, of course, provide real-time global game updates to their fans. So I'm going to turn it over to John, and as John walks up, there's just one slide on next steps. So I promised that I would give you the one slide on how do I get started, how do I leave here. We have 2 defined paths. One is this quick start program that we've developed that enables you to work with our teams on a quick, short, 3-week, 4-week POC. And that enables us to just show you the power of the platform. The second option is the Pinpoint Plus Ignite program. And that's when we want to accelerate your digital transformations, when we want to double down on some of the use cases that we've enabled. And that's when we'll work with you to define that on a more tighter engagement. So that said, I'll turn over to my colleague John, who will provide a demo and brief overview of Personalize. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Okay, so Pinpoint and Personalize. This is very exciting. There's a lot that we can do here with what Zach's already talked about and connecting it up with the Personalized service. First of all, what we're able to do with these services together, with the analytics that Pinpoint captures, moving those analytics through the Pinpoint system, through the AWS platform into Pinpoint, is we can look at data that allows us to drive intelligent and better results for customers faster than ever in a continuously improving flywheel. And so in my demo, I'm going to focus on that a bit. So we'll come back to that. The key about this architecture, though, is it works on your data. It's not Amazon data that we provide for you. It's your data. It's private. It's not shared. It's secure. But the systems work on it to, again, add this intelligence on your data, as well as the ability to use AutoML, meaning that if you're not a data scientist, our service will take a look at your data and make some decisions as to how to use it for ML modeling. So going forward, this is the architecture I'm going to talk about. So what we have on the slide here, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight a few things, is first of all, web and mobile data can be brought in, actually data from any type of user interface, can be brought into the system and entered into Pinpoint. You can see that we have the Amplify.js. There is a library here that we drop in. It's an SDK for front ends. It's optional to use. It helps you with code, but it basically brings in streaming events from your application. Pinpoint will store these events, and as Zach was showing you, the attributes that we can have for custom events can be leveraged in campaigns. Now, for this solution we've built, we move the data through Pinpoint using Kinesis. And Kinesis is this massive funnel. If you're not familiar with it, it basically never says no. It'll take tons of data once you set it up right, and it will move the data through into the rest of AWS. Optionally, we can go ahead and enhance the data. So what I mean again is we have, let's say, clickstream data from a clickstream event that moves in. We recognize who a user is. I'm John, my clickstream data comes in, John being a user. The clicks that I've done and the context of those clicks can be connected up with more context. Where do I live? How old am I? Additional data that we might have about me. We can combine that together and quite simply just store it on S3 in this solution. The reason why we store it in S3 is really pretty much the biggest database in the world. It's a very simple to use database, and it stores tons and tons of data that we can use, and ML is all about data. So once we've got the data combined and in files, we can just bring it into Personalize. And Personalize will do an analysis of the clickstream data and come back with inferences, predictions, based upon the activity I've done, predictions as to what I might like. We've seen this online with existing sites right now with personalization. The beauty of this architecture is to connect up the dots here and make personalization happen for you and your organization now. All of this and the scripts that we're providing very soon here with the release of Personalize it's currently in private beta and very shortly here it'll release. We'll provide the scripts so that wiring this all up in your systems is actually hours of work, not days, not weeks. It's very, very fast to get it all plugged together. Ultimately, when we have the data back, we put it back in a Pinpoint. And why do we do that? Because then we can take the power of all of the different channels we have, the multi-channel architecture of Pinpoint, to leverage the intelligence we get back from Personalize. So an example of this is future communications to me, John, will be informed by what I like. So let's go ahead and get to the demo and get to the heart of this. So I'm going to go into Pinpoint right now. That's the initial landing page on Pinpoint. I have a project up here. You can see an analytics overview. If you haven't played with Pinpoint before, when you go into it, the first thing you'll see is an analytics dashboard. This is pretty simple right now. Basically, I have some events. Yesterday, I was playing around with this demo here. This is a brand new project, so there isn't a historical event, but that's data that's come in from the system. I also have in this demo just a very simple push-button control panel that allows me to run scripts so that I don't have to think through it. So the first step is actually creating the new project and actually creating a new segment. And in Pinpoint, what a segment is, it's a list of users that I want to contact. In this case, I'm going to email users, and one of them happens to be me and my test user. So I've created this segment, quite simple. And if you can just see, it's just only 4 users and 4 addresses, user addresses to be clear. We call them endpoints in Pinpoint. I don't have a campaign loaded, but let's go ahead and get a campaign going. That's what the next button does. So by clicking this button, I've run a Lambda function. Going back to Pinpoint, I should now be able to see a campaign when I refresh the screen. So I talked about a segment as a list of addresses. A campaign is a message that I want to send to that list of addresses. So I pick a segment, I pick a message, and then somehow it's sent at some point in time. It's either triggered by an event, or it is sent at a scheduled time in the future, or in a recurring pattern, and so forth. This happens to be sent to go off immediately. There was just no pause for this, and you can see that the campaign status is immediate. It's currently complete. And what that tells me is if I go into my email client, I should see an email. So below, you see one that's already opened. Up above, and that was actually yesterday, a couple days ago. Up above at 2:34 p.m. now, you see a new email that just came in my Gmail client here. And this is a very simple email. My bad design skills, so I apologize for those. Very simple record store. Pinpoint PUE sale. PUE stands for predictive user engagement. We're predicting what a customer would want based on what they've done. So this Pinpoint records fictitious store. The email that I have is marketing just simple genres that the record store, the music store has. So classical, hip hop, country, and so forth. And then as I click on any of these, I go to a web page. A very simple web store, no branding, just, again, my simple design skills here. But it's the genres just displayed. Now here's the trick. The order of these genres is dynamic and able to be reordered per user based upon the intelligence we get as we watch the user clicking around. So as an example, my simple code here just does a a pop-up of a JavaScript alert and a little box as I click. So I can go ahead and click around on some of these genres, and I like to do these 3 when I give the demo. Here's what's nice. I talked earlier about when I showed the architecture map, the Amplify SDK allows us to take clickstream data from websites and applications and move that into Pinpoint. So what I've done now is stream this into Pinpoint. You haven't seen it, but that's what's happened on the back end automatically. So what I can then do is go back to my demo and run another script, which moves it from Pinpoint. And I'll go back here. What I've just done is I push the button and move the data across all the way to S3 right now. The data has been extracted. Going back in, I'm going to do one more button to run personalized inferences. So what ends up happening here, and I'll be crystal clear actually, I'm using a script of a pre-loaded version of this right now. I'm not running personalized in real time for this demo. I ran it before and I'm showing you the output of it. I'm just making sure it's like when you see a cooking store, or a cooking show, you'll see something in the oven already baked. So I'm taking it out of the oven and showing it. So basically what we have now is an output from personalize that I have back in Pinpoint and I can leverage for another campaign. And my final button is this one, launch another campaign, to see the changes. So when I go back over into the Pinpoint console, there's my first campaign. If I refresh the screen, wait a second, and I'll have 2 campaigns. There we go. Immediate, complete, complete. So now I should be able to go back to my email client, go back over here, and there's my new email. So I can actually open it up, click on the link in the email, and here is my new personalized landing page. So for those who don't have a visual memory, there's the previous order, there's the new order, reflecting my activity I've done. Now, there's a lot of detail in this, of course. The point is, wiring this all up to get this type of activity where your UIs can change dynamically and your messages can change dynamically is as simple as can be nowadays. It's so much fun. The scripts will be available for you to install, all the documentation as well. So that's the demo. Thank you very much, everyone.